When you picture a caveman, you probably see a filthy creature with black rotten stumps instead of a smile. We like to think that before the invention of toothpaste, floss, and dentists, humanity lived in a continuous, agonizing nightmare of tooth pain. We have convinced ourselves that without our morning routine, chaos and destruction would instantly reign supreme in our mouths. But archaeologists excavate skulls of people who lived 20 or 30,000 years ago, and they freeze in shock. These people have perfect, straight, strong teeth, no cavities, no abscesses, no crowding where one tooth climbs over another. How did a population that had no idea what fluoride, ultrasonic cleaning, or mint mouthwash were manage to keep their teeth cleaner and healthier than the average graduate of a modern, prestigious university? All of our ideas about our ancestors' hygiene are a complete delusion, a convenient myth that feeds a billion-dollar dental industry. The truth is, ancient people cared for their teeth with manic precision. They created unique technologies, utilized natural chemistry, and turned their very environment into a medical laboratory. You know nothing about how they did it, and right now we are going to break down, second by second, what tools they used, what they made the first toothpaste from, and why our own mouths have turned into an evolutionary trap. Let's get straight to the hard facts. Our ancestors cleaned their teeth, and they did it so ingeniously that our plastic toothbrush looks incredibly primitive by comparison. In the oldest burials around the world, archaeologists regularly find so-called tooth sticks. These weren't just random twigs picked up from the ground out of boredom. Ancient people selected strictly specific species of trees. Most often, twigs from the Neem or Miswak tree were used. If you start chewing the tip of such a stick, its wood fibers split and turn into a perfect, dense, stiff brush. But the magic wasn't in the shape. The wood of these plants itself, when chewed, releases tannins, natural antiseptics, essential oils, and even fluoride. They didn't just scrape away plaque mechanically. They literally burned out harmful bacteria on a chemical level, sterilizing the oral cavity. Yet this is just the tip of the iceberg. They had their own high-precision surgery. In the Pakistani province of Balochistan, researchers discovered the remains of people who lived 9,000 years ago. When scientists looked at their molars under a microscope, they couldn't believe their eyes. Perfect, smooth, round holes just a couple of millimeters in diameter were drilled into the enamel. The depth of some channels reached 3.5 millimeters. Ancient craftsmen drilled out the areas affected by decay using tiny flint drills driven by a bowstring. They didn't just endure the pain, hoping for a miracle. They were filling and treating teeth long before humanity built its first cities and invented writing. Now you might think, okay, fine, they drilled holes and chewed sticks. But where did that legendary whiteness come from? After all, without modern chemistry and whitening gels, teeth would still turn yellow from plaque and campfire smoke. It sounds logical and highly skeptical. But here is what detailed chemical analyses of tartar, scraped from skeletons of the Paleolithic and Neolithic eras, show. As a cleaning powder and paste, they used mixtures that would make a modern dentist's eye twitch, but which worked flawlessly. They took crushed eggshells, pulverized pumice, myrtle, and most importantly, charcoal. The fine particles of charcoal worked as a powerful natural absorbent. They absorbed all toxins, removed bad odors, and gently lifted stains from the enamel, polishing it to a shine. The harsh components of the paste scraped away tartar at its roots. But here a fair and legitimate question arises. If they cleaned everything so well and technologically, why invent drills and treat teeth at all? Where could cavities even come from in people who didn't know what refined sugar, chocolate, and soda were? And this is where we make the main mental shift of this video. The teeth of ancient people knew virtually no cavities as long as they remained pure hunters and gatherers. Their daily diet consisted of tough wild meat, coarse roots, wild berries, and fibrous plants. To simply swallow a piece of such food, a person had to make up to 5,000 powerful chewing motions a day. Compare this to your lunch today. A soft burger, tender noodles, or a puree soup that disappears in your mouth in 3 seconds with almost no involvement from your jaws. The jaw of our ancestor was a powerful biological press. Due to the colossal load, the teeth constantly rubbed against each other. The enamel wore down, and over time, the crowns of the teeth became flat, like stones on a seacoast. Nature did not plan for the sharp bumps on your enamel to last until old age. It planned for the teeth to work like ruthless millstones. And in the process of this constant, heavy friction, the teeth cleaned themselves. Plaque simply physically did not have time to take hold on the surface. It was a flawless, self-cleaning system created by millions of years of evolution. Everything broke in one specific historical moment. Roughly 10,000 years ago, humanity made its biggest economic mistake. It invented agriculture. We stopped running through the forests after game and began to settle down, planting wheat, barley, and rice. We learned to cook soft porridges and bake flatbreads. And at that exact second, the gates of hell opened for our mouths. Scientists studying the evolution of bacterial DNA from ancient tartar clearly captured this turning point. As soon as thermally processed, soft, and sticky carbohydrates appear in the human diet, the composition of the microbiome in the mouth changes drastically. Peaceful, neutral bacteria are instantly displaced by aggressive strains. The carbohydrate slime settles on the teeth with a death grip. Bacteria throw an endless feast on it and release huge amounts of acid. And this acid literally melts the enamel, turning it into mush. Cavities are not a genetic glitch. It is an infectious curse, the price we paid for the transition to civilization and comfort. The statistics of archaeological finds are ruthless. Before the era of agriculture, cavities occurred in less than 1% of the population. After the cultivation of grains began, in every second person. Ancient people started inventing sophisticated hygiene methods, brush sticks, and flint drills not because life was good, but because they themselves broke their natural diet. You might object, but at least our teeth are straight thanks to aesthetic medicine and braces, while theirs probably grew in all directions, like a picket fence on an old yard. It is exactly the opposite. Look at Paleolithic skulls in any anthropological museum. You won't see wisdom teeth there that push against neighboring molars and cause hellish pain. You won't see crowding and crookedness. Why? Because their jawbones received a colossal physical load from early childhood. The chewing muscles developed correctly, and the bone grew wide, massive, and strong. In such a jaw, there was plenty of room for all 32 teeth. They didn't need to push and turn sideways to fit in the mouth. Our jaw has grown lazy because of soft, processed food. In the process of evolution over the last few thousand years, it has rapidly decreased in size. We no longer need huge bones to chew raw meat. But here's the paradox. The jaw shrank, but the genetic program for the number of teeth remained the same. We have literally locked 32 passengers in a cramped room designed for 24 at most. And now turn your eyes away from the screens and look at your life. When you give huge amounts of money to an orthodontist to fix your bite, when you clench your fists in fear in the dentist's chair under the piercing screech of the drill, you are not suffering because you were unlucky with your genetics. And not because you forgot to use floss after dinner yesterday. You are suffering because your body evolutionarily stayed back there in a deep cave. Your mouth, your gums, and your teeth are designed to tear tough fibers, gnaw roots, and grind coarse food. Instead, 3 times a day, you feed it refined sugar, fluffy bread, gentle soufflés, and sweet coffee. You forced a powerful, brutal racing car to crawl through a deep, muddy swamp, and now you are sincerely surprised why its wheels are flying off one by one and the engine is burning up. Your plastic toothbrush standing in a cup on the shelf in the bathroom is not a symbol of supreme progress and health. It is a crutch, our personal, daily, desperate attempt to somehow bargain with evolution, which we so foolishly and arrogantly tried to cheat for the sake of momentary pleasure. You knew nothing about the teeth of ancient people because you are used to looking down on them with the pride of a well-fed person of the 21st century. We are used to considering them savages, but the real biological savages in this story, it seems, turned out to be us. They did not have degrees from medical institutes and expensive laboratories, but they thoroughly knew the properties of every plant in their forest capable of stopping bleeding, removing inflammation, or cleaning enamel. They managed to create surgical instruments from flint that were millennia ahead of their time, all for one goal: to preserve the ability to chew and therefore to live. We, on the other hand, built a flawless civilization of absolute comfort. We shredded, boiled, and softened everything our hands could reach. We relieved our jaws of work, and in return we got fragile, crooked, decaying bones that begin to rot in our mouths while we are still alive. Every morning, squeezing a neat pea of toothpaste onto synthetic bristles and looking at your pale reflection in the mirror, remember this: you are not just practicing hygiene. Every second, you are paying an exorbitant bill for the fact that once upon a time, our species decided to walk out of the wild forest.